Hello and welcome to Are We There Yet? MarketScale's online video podcast series that explores the most exciting projects in transportation today. My name is Grant Harrell, and as your host, I'll speak with the voices of today's most exciting companies, learning truly what's at the cutting edge of transportation technology today. And speaking of today, I'm very excited to speak with DeLorean. You heard me right, DeLorean, the world's most iconic car brand, and certainly what I believe is the most exciting project in automotive today, and very excited to speak today with the Chief Marketing Officer, Troy Beetz, a big part of bringing DeLorean back to the world. Really impressed. Troy has just an incredible background within automotive. For example, has worked with organizations such as Toyota, Lexus, Karma Automotive, also serves as advisory on the Harvard Business Review Advisory Council. Troy, hello, and welcome to Are We There Yet?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Exciting.
Yes, very exciting. Well, I've really sincerely been looking forward to our interview today and a discussion about the exciting work that you and DeLorean are involved in. Couldn't be more excited to have DeLorean back, as I know the world is, and really excited to learn today more about the stage and the exciting projects that you're working on. And so, if you don't mind, I'm very anxious to pose the question of the series to you today within the Are We There Yet video podcast series. So, would love to know, Troy, truly getting back to the future. I understand that the DeLorean Motor Company has announced the upcoming release of the Alpha5, and so fitting within the theme of the series today, a new model from the most exciting and innovative car brand ever. Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
Yes. I understand we're making our way there, getting close, as I understand. So would love to learn, if it's true, and the Alpha5 is coming back, and just very excited to learn a little bit more about your release of this new model and DeLorean back in the world again.
Yeah, so it's actually really exciting. We're definitely going to have the Alpha5. I mean, that's currently in development. We'll have a prototype of that particular vehicle as close to production as possible at Pebble Beach in August of this year. So it's one of many cars, which I think most people don't understand, is that when we brought back the DeLorean brand, it really was from the perspective of bringing back the DeLorean as an OEM and as a luxury car brand. So obviously it took a lot to get the Alpha5 done. It took a lot to generate a history. I think we'll talk about that later. I'm sure you have questions about that, but the Alpha5 really is a representation of where DeLorean was in 1981 and where it's been over the last 40 years, and narrating that past to validate Alpha5 as a genuine product of DeLorean. It obviously took a lot of time, a lot of detail work, a lot of history, a lot of making sure that what we're creating is foundationally correct too. So it's been an exciting journey to get the car here from where it is today. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, really impressed with your efforts to do just that, and certainly an incredible history for the brand itself, and really just incredible what a following that the brand 40 years old now has and continues to have, and I know that the world is very excited for the coming back of the brand and some of the new models that you shared with us today. So as you said, very exciting. I think really the most exciting project happening within automotive today. You spoke a little bit about the upcoming release of the prototype at one of the most exciting events within automotive, the Concours d'Elegance Pebble Beach car show coming up a little bit later this summer. Could you tell us a little bit more about the release of the prototype at this upcoming event?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be on the main stage at the concourse. So it's going to be represented very well with all the winners for that particular event in August. But it's also going to be an expression when you go to Pebble Beach, and once you see the photographs and you see the live video that's going to be going on at Pebble Beach, there will be a live representation of the generational story. So Alpha5 is equally as important as the generational story that we're telling, because we want people to understand that Alpha5 was not created in a vacuum. It wasn't a one-to-one. We weren't trying to duplicate the DMC-12. We've had many questions about that, and one of the questions we always get is, why didn't you? And I can tell you that had we tried, and that was never the intent. But had we tried, we would have gotten it wrong. Um, the DMC-12 deserves to be in its own place and time. It's an iconic vehicle. Reproducing that for today, um, I think it would take away a lot of what the DMC-12 was in its own place and time. So what you'll see at Pebble Beach over that week is we're going to be showing off again over the last 40 years. The product was non-existent. It had definitely a following. It definitely had a presence with the DMC-12, but in terms of it progressing over time with new product, that wasn't there. So what we did was recreate a history where we thought about what would happen in 1990s, what would happen in the 2000s and the 2010s, and what would those generational vehicles had been and how that would have impacted the vehicle we have today. So you'll see an actual representation of a 1990s vehicle there. That will be a roadster. You'll see an actual representation of a sedan for the 2000s, and then you'll see a representation of the 2010s. Those three vehicles then lead into what Alpha 5 is. But then equally as impressive is that we didn't just recreate a 40-year history to showcase what the Alpha 5 is. We've actually also showcased the future direction of DeLorean. So we're going to have two very special future vehicles. One of them will be called the Plasma Tail. I'll wait. That'll be a really nice surprise for you to see when we show it to you. And then the other one's going to be a 2040 vehicle, which represents DeLorean's next leap into exterior design. So you're going to see quite a number of vehicles that represent DeLorean's past, present, and future. So it's really exciting. No one's ever done it before. No OEM has ever done it before. But we needed, I think, to tell that story that way so people understood. We thought about the process. We thought about the brand. We weren't trying to come in and recreate a vehicle so that this company would be temporary. We want this company to have legs and to be a substantial contributor to automotive design.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it is, and it sounds like you're going about it the best way possible. And I love the idea of rather than just trying to recreate, the DMC-12, or rather than just kind of trying to pick up, after 30 or 40 years, really being careful, respective to the brand to kind of show that evolution, through the generations into what you're announcing today and what we can expect to see in the future. So, really sounds like there's a lot of passion, even you at individual level behind the brand and the story of DeLorean, and can really sense that in the way that you're launching the new model and upcoming models in the future. So really impressed to hear that. That's really exciting. When you talk about the Alpha 5 and in addition to some of the other generations and announcements that you'll have over the coming months and at the conference here, as I understand it, the Alpha 5 will be the model that will enter production the soonest. And I understand, without getting into any numbers or timeframes associated, but I understand that as of right now, I think there was a recent announcement that set to begin limited production in 2024. So hoping as soon as, the next couple of years here, really to begin production with the Alpha 5. Is that correct?
The intent is obviously 2024. The idea, though, is we're making sure that ultimately we spend a lot of time on the design side. We spend a lot of time on the engineering side. The next phase, obviously, and this has been throughout our history, is making sure that we can manufacture the vehicle to a level that represents the DeLorean brand. And it's going to include, obviously, in 1981, there were issues with that particular vehicle being built. The advances in manufacturing and materials will allow us to create a vehicle that's put out in a factory that's just very well done. So we're spending a lot of time making sure the manufacturability of the vehicle is on par with the best that's out there, and that obviously is going to take time. So could we do the car sooner? Yes. Would we? No. We're going to make sure that when the car leaves the factory, it's going to be the best representation of the brand. So spending a lot of time on making sure that's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I know that time is well spent, and the world I know is anxiously awaiting the release, and I know that just taking that extra time and making sure that everything's to the expectations of the company is the right way to go about it. So sounds like a great approach for sure. Talking a little bit about the Alpha 5, and as you shared, it's really all about the development, a reintroduction of DeLorean, as an OEM and multiple models as you shared about, and Alpha 5 happened to be, one that sounds like, would be commercially available, the soonest. And I'm really impressed. I'm very much a car guy myself, but just, some of the specs on the Alpha 5 is pretty incredible. I understand that it is as an EV electric vehicle. Was designed through an established partnership with the Tao Design, who I understand is a Volkswagen, pardon me, owned company, design firm that helped within the development and look even of the original DeLorean. I see too that it has the iconic gull wing doors, and most importantly offers some pretty incredible targeted performance figures. I understand about a 300-mile range, 155 mile an hour top speed, 0 to 60 in 299, or I love even more, a 0 to 88 at a time traveling speed in about 4.35 seconds. So some pretty incredible specs on the vehicle itself. Can you tell us a little bit more about the model, why the model as an EV is important, and kind of just that overall experience that the Alpha 5 will offer?
Yeah, so I think one of the questions we get often, and you alluded to it as well, the 0 to 60 times, the torque, the top speed, those are all things we could have been leaders in. And the idea was that we wanted to create the most complete vehicle that we could. So there's a lot of vehicles out there that go 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds or under 2.5 seconds. And that's a very one-dimensional approach. And that particular brand requests it to do that. Our attempt with the Alpha 5 was to create the most complete car. So are we the fastest? No. Are we the most complete? Yes. We're trying to do a lot with this vehicle, and driving dynamics is probably on the top of the list of what's important to us. So it was bringing back the idea that the joy of drive was probably one of the most significant pillars that we have. We wanted to bring back the driving, the love of driving again. And the other one too is on the design itself. And I think this was really impactful because we had done a lot of clinics. And if you stand back in a room full of people, and we'll experience this at Pebble and we'll experience it at the auto shows as well, is one of the things I really wanted to create was this unconscious reaction that compelled you to do something. And you see it really, really quite often in museum pieces, but with particular automotive design, is if you have this vehicle in a room, the unconscious reaction is to be with the car in one moment in time and then find yourself up to it with your hand on the rear shoulder. There's this unconsciousness that you go through where you don't even know why you're there. You don't know why your hand is on that shoulder. You're compelled to do something, and it's unconscious. And I really think that's it's more important than 0 to 60. It's more important than top speed. That's something that you have to engage the vehicle to do, and it reacts to you. But the compulsion to interact with the vehicle is really what's important. And I think we did that. You can see that with the clinics that we've had. The not that it's worn out, but the rear shoulders. People are always trying to touch the rear shoulder, and that's where they go to the most. And it's that compulsion to do something. And I think that's way more important than 0 to 60, although it's very competitive. I even think on many levels it's more important than range, because you can go 300 miles, you can go as far as you need to go, you'll charge. But the idea that you're connecting with this car at an emotional level, it doesn't matter about the range. It matters that you have this thing with this vehicle. I think that's what's amazing about this vehicle. The other more interesting thing is, and I think we've talked about it before in the media as well, is there's different types of cars being connected. Ours is a very much connected car. but there is Tesla is a connected car, Lucid is a connected car, and there's a lot of EVs coming out that are connected. And I think what's important to remember with this specific vehicle was the connectedness is on the human connectedness. It's not, you're not going to have 36-inch screens in the vehicle. You're not going to have multiple screens in the vehicle. You're not going to have layers upon layers of screens you can go through. This particular vehicle is going to help you engage the road. You'll have feel. I used to work for Lexus, and on the engineering side, one thing that most OEMs pride themselves on is NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness, and trying to reduce. You eventually become a vehicle that is agnostic to feel. You don't know what's happening with the particular vehicle. We're actually engaging the vehicle to actually have NVH so that you can feel something in the steering wheel. Complete opposite in the luxury world, where you measure NVH by the steering wheel to see if there's any vibration. In this particular vehicle, because it's EV, a lot of those things that made the car visceral are gone. The engine is gone. You don't feel that propulsion through the gates anymore. It's just this constant torque. This particular vehicle is going to give you the sensation of driving. You're going to feel the inertia moving forward through those gates. You're going to feel vibration in the steering wheel because it's necessary when you're turning. So I think those are the connectedness, those items I think that are going to be very rare as EVs begin to grow into other types of vehicles. The idea that you can still engage the vehicle and have fun with it, I think is more of the connectedness that we want.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It sounds like really kind of a return to, the joy of driving and the experience and kind of that emotional, connection with the automobile that I think we, many have kind of lost touch with, in recent years. It's a lot of times a conversation about, how much technology can we get into, the vehicle and kind of focus a little bit more on some of the specs, as you mentioned, as opposed to kind of that passion and that love, for driving that many of us have. So, great to hear that. And from the sounds of it, something, very unique to DeLorean and to your efforts and is really going to, set you apart from many others that are kind of approaching things differently these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very exciting. You mentioned, in addition to the Alpha 5, several other models in the works. As I understand, potentially a sports coupe, a sedan, even a premium SUV. Without requesting too many details, as curious as I am, of course, about it, would love maybe just kind of a general overview of some of the other models and plans, for other vehicles that you might have over the next few years.
Yeah, so I think it goes back to the generational story. So, the need to create a foundation for our product plan to move forward. So the representation of having an SUV will obviously be what comes after Alpha 5. One, because it's necessary, and two, because it's a good representation of where we think EV is going to go at the SUV level. We could not have done a future SUV without producing a SUV in our history. So the next vehicle that will come out with after Alpha 5 obviously will most likely be an SUV. We're working on that program now, but it'll very much take cues from the SUV that we created in 2010, and that will be at Pebble Beach as well. So you'll actually see the vehicle from its infancy in 2010 to grow into this next generation SUV that comes out a few years after Alpha 5 will come out. So I think that the interesting thing about our story too is that we're a mobility company, and through the evolution of our product since our history began in 1990, the idea that mobility isn't necessarily ICE. It could be any number of propulsion systems. So again, to go back to and I'm going to tease, obviously we'll tease what that looks like later, but the generational vehicles in 1990 was an ICE engine because we were coming out of 1980. EV was a thought, but it really wasn't executed in that early stages. Our next vehicle was a sedan in 2000. That was our first interpretation of EV. And then in 2010s, we had the SUV, which was our first execution of fuel cell. And that really was our transition from an automotive company to a mobility company. So now we weren't just looking at different types of vehicles; we were looking at different types of propulsions. So our future very much is looking into different types of propulsions that would amplify DeLorean's brand message of being that next generation mobility company.
Very good. I love it. Yeah. And very much as you're sharing with us here today, it's more than just, a reintroduction to the brand or, DeLorean back, available, to the public. It's really more. I think that the story never stopped. It continued, and it's continued to evolve and transition, into what we're learning about today. But love that kind of narrative and that story, has continued, through the years, and very much is going to be a big part of the models that you'll release over the next few years. So love to hear that. I also, was really impressed. We're of course market scale based here in Dallas, Texas, and love the Texas business community environment. Understand, of course, DeLorean also headquartered here in Texas, in San Antonio, with both business and manufacturing operations. Could you tell us a little bit more about why you chose San Antonio and the state of Texas as the headquarters and manufacturing hub for the company?
Yeah, I mean, for me though, it's a little bit closer to home because I used to work for Toyota and Lexus, and then obviously Toyota moved to Texas, and you're seeing this evolution of this state, specifically in San Antonio, where there is a lot of intellectual equity in San Antonio. There's a lot of engineering services here. This culture of automotive is starting to grow, not just within San Antonio, but obviously Dallas and Houston as well. You're seeing this next generation of. I used to work in Silicon Valley when I worked for Neo, and I think there's been a lot of progress moving past an isolated place like Silicon Valley, where most engineering is coming from, high tech software, hardware engineering is coming from, and you start looking out, within the U.S. and San Antonio has this rich population of people who are in engineering. And I think what was really interesting too is not just coming from the automotive background, but because there's a lot of engineering services here that are non-automotive related, the kind of intellectual equity we're getting isn't, and this is really, I think, profound too for any OEM that's going to move forward, is trying to see the automotive sector and mobility in general with a different lens. And I come in from the automotive business, so my idea of automotive engineering is much different than someone working in telecom services or in aerospace. And that type of thinking is really important for this company to grow. And I think that's what San Antonio offers, which is a rich population of people who come from high technology, have engineering backgrounds. The other one too is really advanced materials. And this is a great location for the experimentation of advanced materials and engineering, and having it non-automotive and bringing some of that mindset into automotive, I think really helped us move forward. Alpha5, Alpha5 would have been a much different car had it been built anywhere else. And having that intellectual equity here, helping us carve that path to what this car could be, with people who are not necessarily in automotive, I think you'll see a much different vehicle than you would have if it were 100% automotive background. And I think that's what San Antonio has. And it's in its infancy right now. And I think us getting into San Antonio and in Texas in general, and taking advantage of what it has to offer in terms of just the ability to bring in high technology in a different way. We're sitting really, really at the early stages of what San Antonio is going to grow up to be, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Well, I know the state of Texas and San Antonio, couldn't be more proud, to have DeLorean as a Texas company here. And just as you said, I think one of the most, diverse, populations and workforce in terms of skills and backgrounds, and to be able to apply that, the exciting work that you're doing at DeLorean, I think is just a perfect match. So I know we're all very proud here in Texas to have the company here with us, and exciting to see, what that future, not only for DeLorean, but for San Antonio and just the state overall, will continue to be, in the coming years. So a very exciting time, I think, within the state. I know that as a result, of today's interview and discussion, I know I couldn't be more excited, couldn't be more intrigued. Can't wait, for the upcoming Pebble Beach event to learn more, see some of those previous, generations vehicles, and get a little bit more into detail of what some of your upcoming plans are. So I know as a result of the episode today, I'm sure going to generate a lot of interest, organizations, individuals excited to learn more, explore partnership opportunities, perhaps even fulfill some of the needs that you may currently have within the organization. So would you mind telling our viewers the best way that they can reach out, where they might go to learn more about the company and explore opportunities to work with you in the DeLorean?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously the best place, and the amount of effort we've created on our website is obviously the best place to go. Any sort of media contacts or questions about engineering services or partnerships, investment information is on there as well. That's the absolute best way to get in touch with DeLorean is through our website. We've made it very, very user friendly. Any kind of information you want is on our website.
Very good. Very good. Well, definitely, I want to give you credit for that. It is a great website, great experience. I've spent quite a bit of time on the website myself, even just for fun, learning more about the organization and all of your exciting plans. I know that you do a lot of, really great online events and in-person events, such as the Pebble Beach event. So I think no shortage of opportunities for individuals and companies to learn more about the organization. So really appreciate your direction there, and really appreciate your time today, Troy. As I mentioned, I've just been really excited about the opportunity to get to speak with you today, and really enjoyed the chance to learn a little bit more about the company and some of your upcoming plans. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to speak with us today. Really appreciate your time and involvement in the interview.
No, I appreciate that. It's very exciting to tell the story. I like hearing it every time we talk about it. So thanks for the opportunity. It's been fun today. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, you're very welcome. Well, thank you so much. We'll wish you and the company continued success. And I know the rest of the world and I will anxiously await more details and announcements. And so just want to wish you and the company the best of success. And we'll all be anxiously watching. So thanks again.